Alright, World of Warcraft has been out for 17 plus years, and there's a lot of people out there that didn't read any of the quest lore when they were leveling their characters. And I'll admit, I was one of those people. But a few years back, my friend and I decided to go and start new characters and read every single quest as we went along through these different zones. After doing a few, I figured, this would be something really good to document so that other people don't have to go back and play through everything if they want to learn what happens in the quest lore. Well, here we are. After so many episodes, we're deep in the Northern Barrens and we're covering Chapter 6. So if you want to know what happened in the quest lore but you don't want to go back and read everything, then let's jump in and find out what's going on in World of Warcraft. Before we get started, if this is your first time here, my name is Quaylen, and I summarize the quest lore that you may have skipped reading while playing World of Warcraft. So if this is something that interests you, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit that bell icon for notifications. It'll let you know when I drop a new episode. Now, it's been a while since I've posted a new Warcraft lore video. So if you want to catch up from the beginning of the Northern Barrens, then I suggest hitting this link right over here. It'll start you right at the beginning. But if you're already caught up, then let's jump into Chapter 6 and see what's going on. After everything you did for Gazlowe and Ratchet, you get your share of the cut from all the loot that you gathered. But there's another person that's guaranteed at least 10%, and his name is Nozzelpot. He can be located at his research station to the north of here. And Gazlowe says that you can catch a ride up there if you speak with HORNBLOWER, who happens to have a riverboat. From here, you head out and go and speak with HORTON. And when you get to the dock, you jump into the boat and head up the river. Along the way, you get to listen to HORTON kind of tell you how great this is, which makes you think that something really bad is gonna happen. But without any sort of ambush or anything like that, you get to the other dock. And when you get there, HORTON tells you where to go so you can meet up with Nozzelpot. From here, you head west and arrive at the research facility, speaking directly with Nozzelpot. You hand him a bag of precious stones that Gazlowe wanted you to deliver to him, which Nozzelpot is actually pretty skeptical that this is 10% of what he was owed, and says that he's gonna weigh it, just to make sure. Not sure how that's gonna actually, clarify that that's 10%, but that's his own business. Anyways, he then goes on to show you a footprint that was left here in camp last night, and says that nothing was necessarily stolen, but they were examined. This doesn't really sit well with him, since someone's been sniffing around the place. So he wants you to follow the trail of footprints, which lead to the sludge fen, and investigate the area by tracking 5 of these specific footprints. Nozzelpot also mentions that there's a hyena population problem going on over here, and that they've been coming into camp and stealing pigs from the stables. So he really wouldn't mind if you thin their numbers a bit by killing 6 Hecklefang hyenas. Now you speak with Sputtervalve, who happens to be the former director of the Steamwhittle Shredder development program. These things. Anyways, this guy decided to go at it on his own. But since then, his suppliers have completely blacklisted him. And what's worse is that his development efforts really haven't gotten him off the ground. So he needs your help. Sputtervalve set up shop here, and the venture company was immediately like, no, you need to stop while you're ahead. So they've sent him a bunch of threatening letters saying, you need to stop what you're doing, cease and desist, and all that kind of stuff. But the worst part is that now he's missing schematics from the newest machine that he's been working on. Most likely the venture company has those. So while you're out at the sludge fen, recover 6 of the stolen blueprints. Beyond the sludge fen is a research facility that's run by the venture company, and they're experimenting on something called a Samoflange.
Keep your foot off that blasted Samoflange! What the is a Samoflange? I have to do that again.
Since we really don't know what that is, Sputtervalve wants you to get it so that we can examine it ourselves. The good thing is, he's got a copy of their control system, so you'll be able to shut down the operation before removing it from the control panel. Now you head out to the sludge fen. And once you arrive, you kill members of the venture company until you obtain 6 of the stolen blueprints. Then you investigate 5 of the muddy footprints leading away from Nozzelpot's camp. noticing that the tracks looks like the creature was dragging his feet, and that there's also oil mixed in within the mud. But the final observation is that these tracks lead down into the water, which has you looking over this once flourishing oasis, which has now been covered up by a lot of oil. And judging by the looks of the tracks and the remains in the area, whatever is down there isn't human, and it's most likely pretty dangerous. So you head into the water, and when handling a mud pile at the bottom, you're approached by the sludge beast. And after killing him, it apologizes for any harm that it did at the camp. From here, you head out of the water and run up to Whizzlecrank, who recently jumped into this shredder here. He assumes that Sputtervalve sent you and says that we need to get this thing out of here like right now. But he forgot the key to the movement column for the shredder that he's currently in. Now he wants you to get it from Supervisor Lugwizzle, who's located at the top of the derrick. Now, I'm assuming that this is some kind of shredder prototype that Sputtervalve made and the venture company stole from him, and then maybe he sent Whizzlecrank over to steal it back or something. I'm not really too sure, but let's see how this plays out. Maybe the dialogue will kind of clear things up. From here, you head out and arrive at the top of the derrick, which then you fight and kill Lieutenant Lugwizzle, as well as looting him for the ignition key. Then you head down and report back to Whizzlecrank. He puts the key in and is blown away how the venture company could have designed this thing the way that it is, knowing that it's a better design than the one that Nozzelpot made. Ah, okay, so he was here to steal a design that the venture company made, not steal one back that the other guys made back at camp. Got it. That makes a lot more sense. Well, Whizzlecrank says that he needs to get this thing back to the outpost as soon as possible. So you head out while protecting him. And he learns how to control the thing, which doesn't really turn out so great because he ends up pushing a button that makes the shredder inoperable, but says to go ahead and that he'll figure out how to get this thing back to the outpost. From here, you find the hyenas in the field and kill 6 of them to control their population a bit. Then you head all the way over to the venture company research facility, which is located out in the west. And once you get there, you run into this big operation thing that's holding the Samouflange. Now, this thing looks like it's operating at optimal levels, and it indicates that control valves 1, 2, and 3 are open. But there's also a small keyhole on the lower right side of the control panel. So with the 3 valves open, it kind of means that they need to be closed in order to make this thing stop working. So you go around and turn all 3 of the valves off. And when looking at the control panel, you notice that the lights on the board go from green to yellow. Now that everything is technically turned off, we can open up this control panel and pull the Samouflange out. But it needs the key to actually open it. And that key is held by Tinkerer Sniggles. Sniggles. That's a good name. So he's not really too far away. He's just up the hill in this hut. So you head out to kill him. And when you get there, you do. Grab what you need from him and return back with the key, which you promptly insert it into the control panel. And once you turn it, all of the power from the terminal drains out. Then once you pull open the control panel and dig inside, you reach through all the wires and pull out the Samouflange. Now you head all the way back to the outpost to report to Sputtervalve and Nozzelpot. Once you arrive, you speak with Sputtervalve first. He asks if you retrieve the stolen blueprints. And when you give them back to him, he says that now his work on the Silver Bullet X831 can continue, which I assume could be like a mount of some sort, possibly a brother to maybe this one right here. Who knows, maybe we'll see it later on. Now you give him the Samouflange, and he says it's best to have like a full team of engineers doing reverse engineering on this thing in a clean room, but you know, who really has time for that kind of stuff? So he just wants to fire it up and see what happens, which doesn't really go too well for him at all. As far as the shredder that fell apart making its way back to the outpost here, Sputtervalve is pretty upset that Whizzlecrank screwed up, but he hopes that he can still salvage something from it that's worth some kind of value. And he says that when he gets it back here, he'll tear it apart and see what makes it tick. As far as the now broken Samouflange, he wants you to bring it over to Brack Blusterpipe here in the encampment. And he'll, you know, fix it up real quick. Now you run up to Nozzelpot and tell him about the sludge beast that you killed. He says that the monster was probably a product of all the waste that the venture company put into the oasis. Plus, he also thanks you for taking out the hyenas in the area, saying that they're more trouble than they're worth. Now you run up to Black Blusterpipe and hand him the broken Samoflange that Sputtervalve broke earlier. Brack tells you to hand him a nearby mallet and says that, yeah, we can get this thing working again. No problem. Which doesn't really quite turn out the way that he thought it would, especially when white smoke starts coming out of it. I think we're just making this thing worse and worse as we go along. He says that he may have broke one of the, hold on, let me read this, because this is, I can't remember this. He says that he may have knocked out one of the load-bearing fluxors into the spokes of the deregulator gears. In other words, he broke it even more. But no worries, because he knows an individual that's an expert in triple expansion piston drives. And she would love to get her hands on a Samoflange. And her name is Weneke Bolt Bucket. She can be located just south of Morshan Rampart. So when you're ready, speak with Brack so he can test out his new teleportation device, which he calls it the Personal People Porter. And it should theoretically teleport you directly to Weneke. Although I can really tell you that I'm feeling that something bad is about to happen here. So you tell him that you're ready to go, and surprisingly, it works. You show up exactly at Weneke's location. Wow, I honestly did not expect that to happen. So you run up to her, and she says that she's super busy unless you've got something that's worth her time. So you show her the Samoflange, and she's like, "What's a Samoflange?"
What the is a Samoflange?
Regardless, she notices that there's a real mess of gears inside of the whole thing. And she can't help but want to fix it so that she knows what it does. Funny enough, I'm actually interested in the same thing. Okay, so Weneke would love to fix the Samoflange, but she doesn't have all the supplies she needs to get the job done. She says that there's a burning blade farm. Wait, what? Finally, we get to possibly hear more about the Burning Blade. If you need a little refresher, they were the major focus back in Durotar when we were questing over there, and all of those quests led up to us moving into the Northern Barrens, and we've only encountered them once since we've been here. So getting back to their story would be really, really nice. Anyways, I digress. Weneke wants you to go to the farm to the southwest and look through their tool buckets, which you should be able to find 10 nugget slugs if you look hard enough. Before you leave, you run into Brogor. He says that while our leaders take up arms against Deathwing, the Burning Blade plots our downfall. I mean, they're literally gathering recruits and supplies as we speak. And Brogor doesn't really want to die at the hands of the Burning Legion, whom the Burning Blade is affiliated with. So he wants you to kill 8 of their members while you're down at the farm collecting the nugget slugs for Weneke. Now you head out, and when you arrive at the farm, you collect 10 of the nugget slugs from the tool buckets, and kill 8 Burning Blade members. Once that's done, you head all the way back to Weneke and Brogor. And when you get there, Brogor is the first person that you speak with. He simply thanks you for killing the members of the Burning Blade, saying that a lot of people are gonna sleep better knowing that they're dead. Then you speak with Weneke, who asks if you've got the nugget slugs, which you do, and you hand them over to her. And she's super excited because she's been waiting to fix this thing ever since you left for the farm. So she attempts to, and yeah, no dice. She says that the structural integrity of the Samoflange is at an all-time low now. I mean, come on, this thing has been beaten up 3 times over already. But when she blew the cover off of the casing, she found the personal stamp of someone named Boss Copperplug. Looks like we've got another lead to follow. So from here, she's gonna use the same teleporter that was used earlier to get to this location, and send you back to Sputtervalve, so that you can tell him about this Boss Copperplug guy. Now you teleport back to Nozzelpot's Outpost, and run up to Sputtervalve, telling him what you learned about the stamp from Boss Copperplug, which Sputtervalve says, "Oh no, this might be tricky." And he says that because when Sputtervalve was part of the Tinkers Union, Copperplug was the best engineer that they had. But then he defected to the venture company, taking all of his techniques with him, only really handing out bits and pieces of his knowledge to the people within his circle. But if this guy did build the Samoflange, then he must have the manual for it. And word is that he's close by, working out of the Boulder LODE mine to the northeast of here. So you need to head there and get the manual from him, as well as missing pages that his followers happen to have on their possession. Before you leave though, you run up to Brack, He tells you that there's this rumor that one of the venture company miners found an emerald the size of your fist at the Boulder LODE mine, which is exactly where you're going. And Brack knows a few buyers that would be pretty interested in getting their hands on this thing. And he says that he'll go into it 50-50 if you can just get the emerald. So it looks like you'll be hunting down a giant green gem while you're there. Because money. So now you head out and make your way to the Boulder LODE mine. When you get there, you start killing miners until you find the emerald that Brack wants to sell. You also kill other workers for the Samelflange manual pages, as well as Boss Copperplug for the manual itself. Once you've assembled the book and acquired the emerald, you head out and return to the outpost. When you arrive, you run up to Brack. He's blown away at the size of the emerald that you murdered miners for. I mean the one that you found, you know, the emerald that you found in the mine. And he says that we're gonna be, you know, like stupid rich. Now you run up to Sputtervalve and hand him Copperplug's manual. He's surprised that it's 600 pages long, but finds the chapters that he needs to fix the Samelflange. Then says that it's time to fire up this thing. So all three of the goblins run into the middle. There's a big explosion, and Nozzelpot says that he wants 30 of them. Not really sure what it does still, except knock people back. To be honest, I'm a bit disappointed with the outcome. Anyways, Sputtervalve says that you better head back to the crossroads, and says that his machine, the Silver Bullet X831, is finished, which confirms my suspicion about the mount thing because it looks exactly like the X-53 Turing rocket. But he wants you to give it a test drive. So you hop onto the rocket and take off heading for the crossroads. Everything seems to be going great while your pilot named Gyrotilt soars you through the Barrens. Once you reach the crossroads though, the X-831 Silver Bullet stalls, and all control is lost, which leads you to flying away from the crossroads, crashing in an area called Darsok's Outpost. Gyrotilt says that he needs to pick up the pieces and head back to camp, knowing that Sputtervalve is gonna kill him for destroying his prototype. But since you're here now, you might as well speak with Darsok. So you run up to him to find out what needs to be done in this area. And this completes the 6th chapter in the Northern Barrens quest line. Looks like we've got one more chapter left to finish off the Northern Barrens. I'm still kind of upset that we really don't know what the Samelflange does, because they let us on this duck hunt to get it fixed, and then all we saw were a couple of goblins get blown back, and that's it. If that's what it does, then, so be it, but maybe a little bit more text to explain something a little bit more about it, that would be nice. I don't know, I just hate being let down when we put so much work into fighting out something and it really ends up being nothing at all. So next time we'll wrap up this area, and then we're probably going to be moving into Westfall, which is one of my favorite areas to quest in, and especially for the story because I've already played through it before. It's really good. And just a heads up, I'm actually thinking about doing a bit more streaming, just casual gaming. I like to hang out with all of you and see how you guys are doing, because you come here and watch these videos all the time, and I like to just interact with you a bit more. So keep a lookout on my possible streams just for playing games and just kind of hanging out. But if you've made it this far, then thanks for watching. And again, if this is your kind of thing, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you here for the journey. And with that, I'll see you guys next time when we find out what happens next in the Tales of Azeroth.
What the f*** is a Samelflange? I have to do that again.